ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
आचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
गुरुपरम्पराम्
ॐ सहनाववतु
सहनाववतु सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु सह
सह
वीर्यं
वीर्यं
कर्वावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम. Okay, so we are completed Karika number two. Karika number two, not the mantra. Now we are on Karika number three. So unmute yourself, we will chant. विश्वो हि स्थूलभुङ्गः
विश्वो हि स्थूलभूतः
स्थूलभङ्गः
नित्यं तैजस प्रविविक्तभुक्
नित्यं
नित्यं प्रविप्रवृत्तिक
तैजसप्रविक्तभुक्
आनन्दभुक्तथा प्राज्ञः
आनन्दभुक्तथा प्राज्ञः
आनन्दभुक्तप्राप्य
हृदा भोगं निबोधतः.
त्रिधा भोगं निबोधतः।
So we are seeing the summarization of the mantras by Gaudapada ji in the Karikas. Now we are looking at the three experiences, the Bhogatrayam, that is mentioned here. Sthula Bhuk, Nityam, Vishwaha. So the word Vishwaha is used. The waker has got experiences. How? Because he contacts the Sthula Prapancha. And the Sthula Prapancha is not a projection of the mind. It consists of the Pancha Mahabhutas, the gross elements. So that is the field of experience of the Vishwa. What is the field of experience? The gross world, the Sthula Prapanchaha. Then Taijasaha Pravivikta Bhuk. So Pravivikta means different. So Taijasaha Bhuk experiences Praviviktaha, a different universe. And what different universe? Here it means the Sukshma Prapanchaha. Right? So Tajasa, the dreamer, experiences the Sukshma Vishaya, the Sukshma Prapanchaha. And the Sukshma Prapanchaha is made of what? Of the dreamer's thoughts. Why do we say that? Because the Indriyas are not functional and therefore he has no access to the Sthula Prapancha at all. There is no external world. Everything that he experiences is internal to him. Right? So thoughts are the building blocks of the internal world. And thoughts generally are intangible, but in the dream, the thoughts become very, very tangible. And not only tangible, they have Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Gandha, everything. So this is the field of experience of the Tajasaha. Then Ananda Bhuk Prajnaha. So Prajnaha, the person is Sushupti, what is his field of experience? Ananda. And this is Pratibimba Ananda because it is a state in which all vikara is removed, all the differentiation is removed. The mind is absent. The mind, which is the basic tool which provides duality and differentiation, that is absent. So this person is in Advaitam, in Sushupti, right? But remember that Advaitam is going to be there only during Sushupti. When he wakes up, again there will be Dvaitam. Okay. Now, how do we know he is in Advaitam? Because we saw in Bhadaranyaka, Dvitiyat Vai Bhayam Bhavati. Wherever there are two, there is fear. And in Sushupti Avastha, he has no fear, he has no grief, he has nothing. That possibility is there only when the mind is resolved. So it's a Advaitik Avastha. Remember that the Sushupti Avastha, it provides you with the experience of Advaita every single day, right? So Advaitam you experience every day. And therefore your problem is not that you have a Advaita Anubhava missing. Everybody has Advaita Anubhava, experiencing Anubhava. But our problem is that the knowledge that this particular entity, this I which has no localization, which is present in the Sushupti Avastha, that non-localized I, to equate that non-localized I to the limited localized I, which I experience in Jagrada Avastha. That knowledge I don't have. What knowledge I don't have? I'll request you again not to unmute yourself while the class is on. Only when we chant or when we ask questions, you unmute, otherwise the disturbance comes into the recordings. So, the as I was saying, we don't have a problem of not experiencing Advaitam because every day, every Sushupti, you experience this Advaitic state. But the problem is that this limitless I, which has no boundaries at all, which is not localized because of the mind during Sushupti Avastha, that limitless I do not know that it is the same as the limited I which I experience in the other two avasthas. So that knowledge is missing. And therefore it says Tridha Bhogam Nibodataha. May you understand these three as the Bhogatrayam. The Sthula Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, and the Ananda. These are the three experiences for the three states of consciousness associated with the three Prapanchas. Now we look at the fourth Karika. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. स्थूलं तर्पयते विश्वम्
स्थूलं
Sulam
तर्पयते विश्वम्
प्रविविक्तं तु तैजसम्
प्रविविक्तं तु तैजसम्
आनन्दश्च तथा प्राज्ञम्
आनन्दश्च
आनन्दश्च
तथा प्राज्ञम्
त्रिधा तृप्तिं निबोधतः
त्रिधा
त्रिधा
तृप्तिं
तृप्तिं
निबोधत।
निबोधतः।
Okay, so now we are on the tripti, the contentment part. The three types of tripti. Sthulam tarpayate vishvam. So tarpayate is providing tripti, providing contentment, providing satisfaction. So sthulam, the sthula prapancha, the objects in the Jagrat prapancha, vishvam tarpayate. They are the ones which satisfy the Vaker Vishwa. Therefore, the whole world, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha of the Jagrata Avastha, the objects of this whole world, they satisfy the Vaker because the Vaker interacts with them. So, Vishwa interacts with Sthula Prapancha and therefore the objects of the Sthula Prapancha, they are the one which provide contentment, happiness, etc. to the Vishwa. Then, Taijasam to Praviviktam. So Praviviktam is again different. So Taijasam is satisfied by the other one, different one. And what is the different one? The different one is subtle universe, Sukshma Prapancha, Sukshma objects, which are nothing but projections of your mind. So those Sukshma objects which are present, which are the projections of the mind of the waker, they are the ones which create the dream universe. And the dream universe consists of all these Sukshma objects. And the Sukshma objects are what satisfy or make the Taijasa happy, the dreamer happy. Then he comes to the subtle, the suksha, the prapancha, which is the Karana prapancha, Sushupti. And he says, Anandascha tatha pragyam. So pragnya, the consciousness present in the Sushupti avastha. What is his area of being pleased? Anandaha. So as we said earlier, there is no division. There is Advaitam. Hence only Ananda is there. And Ananda therefore is that which satisfies, which pleases the prajna, the person in Sushupti avastha. And therefore, Tridha Triptim Nibadataha. Know that these are the Tripti Trayam, the Tridha Triptim, the Tripti Trayam, the satisfaction that Jiva gets in the threefold manner in the three avasthas. Now we go to all very little concise summaries. We have already seen these earlier. Now we go to Karika number 5. Trishu dhamsu yad bhojyam
त्रिषुधांसु
विशुधामसु यद्भोज्यम्
yascha prakirtitah
भोक्ता
भोक्ता
यश्च
यश्च प्रकीर्तितः
प्रकीर्तितः
vedaitat ubhayam yastu
वेदैति
वेदैतदुभयं यस्तु
sabhunjano na lipyate.
स
स
भुञ्जानो न
भुञ्जानो न
लिप्यते
लिप्यते
So, saha yaha ubhayam etat veda. So saha yaha, that person who ubhayam etat veda knows these two. Which two? Yat bhojyam cha bhokta. The bhojyam, which is the experienced object, and the bhokta, who is the experiencer. So the person who knows the experiencer subject and the experienced object. In other words, pramata and prameyam. Yaha saha akirtitaha. These have been mentioned earlier in the Upanishad as the bhokta bhojyam pair. We saw there are three sets of bhokta bhojyam pairs, experiencer, experienced objects. So in the waking state, the Vishwa is the Bhokta, the Sthula Prapancha is the Bhojyam, and so on. In the Swapna Avastha, Dreamer is Bhokta, Tajasa is Bhokta, and Sukshma Prapancha is Bhojyam. In the Sushupti Avastha, the Prajna is the Bhokta, and the object is the Karana Prapancha, which experiences of the Karana Prapancha are in the form of Ananda. So Trishu Dhamsu, one who clearly understands these three pairs of Bhokta and Bhojyam, of experiencer subject and experienced objects in each of the avasthas, he is a person who knows these two states. And what is special about him? Sabunjano. Even when he experiences these states, na lipyate, he is not affected. So sabunjano, we can supply api. Sabunjano api. Even when he is having these experiences, he is not affected, providing he understands the pairs in each state, in each avastha. And Shankara comments here that when you say Veda, you have to take it as he knows that the experiencer and the experienced. He knows the experiencer subject and the experienced object. They are not different from Turiam. Turiam means what? Brahma. Right? Even though apparently the Vishwa is different from the Tajasa, and apparently the Tajasa is different from the Prajna, the underlying principle, underlying consciousness of all three is Brahman only. These names come only because that one Turiya Brahman, Turiya Chaitanyam, is associated with different avasthas. So that we should know. I mean, very, very carefully meditate upon. I, the consciousness principle, am the real entity. When I am associated with Jagrata Avastha, I am Vishwa. When I am associated with Swapna Avastha, I am Taijasa. And when I am associated with Shupti Avastha, I am Prajna. And in the absence of any of these associations, what am I? I am Turyam Brahma. Turi, Chaitanyam. Turyam literally means fourth. Okay. But in Shruti, here we have to take it as Brahman. So Turyam in the context of Mandukya is Brahman. Right. Now, how can you say that I, the Sakshi, am not affected by the object that I experience? I experience objects in Jagrada Avastha. I experience objects in Swapna Avastha. How can I say that they don't contaminate me? What is the answer? Just like the sunlight is not contaminated by the filth of the gutter, nor is it touched by the purity of the Ganga water. In the same way, I who illumine all this, I cannot be touched at all. I am very much like that sunlight. The illuminer of something will not be touched by that thing. Now we go to the sixth karika. We will chant. So please unmute yourself. Prabhavas sarvabhavānām
प्रभवः
प्रभवः
सर्वभावानां
सर्वभावानां
tatāmiti vinischayah
ततामिति
ततामिति
विनिश्चयः
विनिश्चयः
sarvam janayati prāṇah
सर्वं
सर्वं
जनयति
जनयति
प्राणः
प्राणः
chetomshun purushah prithak.
चेतोषून्
चेतोषून्
पुरुषः
पुरुषः
पृथक्
पृथक्
Okay. So now in the next three mantras, 6, 7, 8, some important ideas are being pointed out. Okay. So in the sixth mantra, not the sixth karika. So we have to be very careful about what is karika and what is mantra. So in the sixth mantra, it was pointed out that the consciousness which is present in the Sushupti Avastha is called the Karana Atma. Right? So I, when associated with the Sushupti state, I am called Prajna, otherwise called Karana Atma. Why is the name Karanam used? Because all my emotions of the Jagrata Avastha or the Swapna Avastha, or all my problems of the Jagrata Avastha, Swapna Avastha, all my relationships of the Jagrata Avastha, Swapna Avastha, they have not gone away, right? How do we know they have not gone away? Because when you wake up, they are still there. Therefore, they are resolved in you. They are there in potential form in you. And therefore, Karana Atma. Karanam is that state in which everything is available in potential condition. That is why Prajna is called Karana Atma. And then when I come to Jagrata Avastha, that potential state comes back to Vyakta Avastha. Avyakta potential form comes to Vyaktam, manifestation. And again at night when I go to sleep, into Sushupti Avastha, everything goes back into that dormant, potential, unmanifest condition. So for me, this is called Sushupti or Nidra. The same idea when extended to the Samashti level. Because Ishvara you can extend to, right? Because we are Jiva and then there's Ishvara. So if you extend this same principle to Ishvara, Ishvara's sleep at the Samashti level is called Pralayam, right? And Pralayam also has sometimes called Yoga Nidra. So our sleep is called Nidra and Bhagavan's sleep is called Yoga Nidra. Therefore, the words Yoga Nidra and Pralayam, they have the same meaning. While Nidra and Laya have the same meaning. So for the Vyashti, for the individual Jiva, we can use the word Laya or Nidra. So at the micro level, it is Laya and Nidra. At the macro level, the corresponding words are Yoga Nidra and Pralayam. What happens in Yoga Nidra? In that Pralaya Avastha, what is in dormant condition? Everything is in dormant condition. The whole universe is in the Avyakta Avastha. And this Avyakta Avastha, now you have to make a comparison between Prajna now. What is present in Prajna? Your entire dream world is present in Prajna. And all your experiences in Jagrata Avastha is also present in Prajna. That is why Prajna is called Karana Atma for the Vyashti state, for the micro state. If you extend that to the universe, to Samashti level, Bhagavan's sleep, Yoga Nidra, is Pralaya Avastha. And what comes out of the Avastha, the entire universe comes out. So the whole universe is in dormant or unmanifest condition. And we saw in Tattva that the unmanifest condition of the universe, what is it called?
Avyaktamaya.
Avyakrita prapancha.
Avyakrita, all this we have seen recently. But there are three names which we saw in Tattva.
Antaryami.
Taryami, hidden.
Antaryami, right? So Antaryami is the causal state from which Hiranyagarbha emerges, which is subtle body emerges, and Virat, the physical body emerges, right? Therefore, remember that Pralaya Avastha of Ishvara is Antaryami, which is why very many texts, very many acharyas, when they say Ishvara, they mean Antaryami, the Samashti Karana Rupa Nama and Avyakta Avastha. That Antaryami is called Ishvara. So all these, Ishvara is also used as Bhagavan, but technically speaking, when you use Ishvara, it should mean the Avyakta Ishvara, the Antaryami Ishvara. Okay. So what do we derive from here? That what is this Antaryami? What is this Ishvara? Ishvara is Brahman, consciousness, plus the potential universe, which is called Avyakrata, which is called Avyakta Maya. All these names are there, right? So that is how Brahman plus Maya is Ishvara. And out of this Antaryami alone, the whole universe is manifested. It becomes Vyaktaha. Therefore, Ishvara is called the Karanam and the Jagat is called the Karyam. The manifestation of the Jagat, of the universe from Ishvara is called what? Srishti. Right? And we saw in the sixth mantra, again, sixth mantra, not Karika, we saw Sarvasya Prabhava Apyayohi Bhutanam. The whole universe arises out of Prabhavaha and Apyaya, resolves into Ishvara. Right? So, in every darshana that you study, this theory of creation is one of the important topics. We call it Srishtivada. Science calls it cosmology. So there are many theories in cosmology. Big Bang theory, steady state theory, multiple universe theory. But none of these theories really explain the process of creation. Excepting to say that before the Big Bang there was nothing which existed. Science is not able to explain what is the process. right? And so here you will find that we are talking about the Srishtivada, but the Vedantic theory of creation. And in this particular Upanishad, Gaudapada wants to tell us that don't use the word Srishti at all. Because the word Srishti, you have a big misconception in the intellect. So he says, don't use the word Srishti. There is no such thing as a Srishti. What is the misconception? Logically, no creation is possible, right? Why? Creation means something has come out of nothing. And even scientifically, if you look at it, that when you say there is matter, that matter was in avyakta avastha. What is the matter called?
Maya.
No.
Maya.
Scientifically, I'm saying, in science.
Hmm.
Potential.
Energy.
And
Energy.
energy, right? E is equal to mc squared.
Yeah.
That is the equation. M is the matter, E is energy, C is the speed of light. Right? So E is equal to mc squared gives you the same idea that matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can change into energy and vice versa. And this law, even Ishvara cannot violate. Right? Vedanta accepts that. If you look at other darshanas and you ask them that how did God create, they will say God created out of nothing, which we don't accept because it violates a very fundamental scientific law, right? So even Ishvara cannot create or destroy matter because for us, matter means Maya. Maya is eternal. It cannot be created nor destroyed. Consciousness is eternal. It cannot be created or destroyed. And therefore, when we talk about creation, Srishti, remember there are two things only. One is consciousness, one is matter. Neither can be created, neither can be destroyed. Then what is created? Nothing is created. Where is the question of creation at all? So this approach is called Ajati Vada. So we have not seen this before. You've seen all sort of vadas. This is called Ajati Vada. Ajati means that which never came into being, that which was never created. Right? And therefore, when there is no creation at all, a lot of the questions which we ask, when did Bhagavan create the universe? Where did Bhagavan create the universe? How did Bhagavan create the universe? Why did Bhagavan create the universe? All these questions, remember, they are based on a very basic assumption. What is the assumption? That there is a creation. And here we are going to see that there is no creation at all. Vedanta says your assumption itself that there is a Srishti, that is wrong. And when the Srishti itself is not there, where is the question of any creation at all? Right? Matter cannot be created or destroyed. It can be either in avyakta avastha, unmanifest form, or it can be in manifest form. This is not the first time we are seeing it. We saw it long ago in Bhagavad Gita. Where did we see?
Avyaktadini bhutani.
Avyaktadini bhutani, vyakta madhyani bharata, avyakta nidhanani eva, tatra ka paridevana. And again we saw avyakta vyakta sarvaha prabhavantya haragame, ratriagame praliyante, tatraiva vyakta sangake. We saw in both places, second chapter, eighth chapter. And therefore, avyaktam to vyaktam is the creation, is what we call creation. And vyaktam to avyaktam is what we call destruction. This you should understand. There is no creation at all. These are labels given to us, given by us for a process. One process is from unmanifest to manifest. That we are calling creation. One process is from manifest to unmanifest. That we are calling destruction, no? Or pralayam. And so, in this Karika, Gaulapada says, Iti Vinishchayaha. You should understand very firmly, Prabhavaha Sarva Bhavanam Satam. That the Prabhavaha, that the birth, the origination, Sarva Bhavanam Satam, is for those things which are Satam. Satam Satta, already existing. That when you say something is born, you're talking about something which is already there. Sarva Bhavanam Satam, everything is already there. All things in creation are already existing in Avyaktavastha. When they are brought into origination or into manifestation, you call them created. You say Srishti has come as if they were not there before. And because you don't understand this, therefore you have lots of people talking about various theories of creation, as though anything is really ever created. Right? And we have to try to understand why do we make this mistake. When there is nothing really created, why do we use the word creation? The reason is very simple. Anything which is in potential form has no utility in any transaction. Anything which is in avyakta avastha has no transactional utility at all. What are the examples? Daily example.
Clay, gold.
No, dream jewelry has nothing to do. Uh, so that is basically abhyakta.
Okay, let me ask a question. Is there butter in the milk?
No.
Yes.
But there is butter, but it is in potential form.
It is
We
in
need
potential
to.
form. You cannot apply it on your bread.
Yes.
So what do you
Yes.
do by churning that milk? You turn that, but you extract the butter and you say, I have extracted, I have got butter. Butter has been created. And therefore, as far as a potential thing is concerned, a thing in a potential form is concerned, it is not useful for any transaction. And therefore, it is human tendency to see it as non-existent. Even though it is not non-existent, we can say it is as good as non-existent for us because it has no utility at all. And therefore, similarly, in Pralaya Avastha, the entire creation is dormant. It has no utility at all. And therefore, it is almost viewed by everybody as not there. And therefore, when this non-existent potential, almost non-existent potential universe becomes manifest, then we make the mistake of thinking, oh, the universe has been born. And therefore, we say it has now come into existence. Therefore, the word manifestation is wrongly perceived as creation. But really speaking, there is no creation at all. And therefore, sarvam janayati pranaha. So, pranaha here is Ishvara. Sarvam pranaha janayati. Everything is created by Ishvara. He brings the old avyakta pancha into vyakta form. And not only that, Purushaha chetom shun pritaka. So he manifests the whole universe and creates, Purushaha is Ishvara, creates chetom shun, the jivas, sentient beings, prithaka, separately. So nice little summarization. Ishvara creates two things, the inert material world, which is the achetana prapancha, and chetom shun prataka. Separately, he creates the sentient people, the chetana prapancha, the purushas, the other beings which are conscious. And Shankara gives two examples to illustrate what is meant by prithaka. He says, Agni Visphulingavatu. So, like the sparks which originate from the fire are similar to fire. Right? We have seen in Mundaka somewhere. Where have we seen? The same idea we have seen in Mundaka, that the sparks from the fire are compared to the fire. And what is the comparison here? Ishvara is the fire, Jivas are the sparks. It is not to show that Jivas are separate from Ishvara. It is to show that nature is the same. The nature of the spark is fire. The nature of the fire is also fire. Just because the sparks are separated doesn't mean that they are different. That is one example he uses. And then he uses another example, Jalarka Vat. Just like the Jala Arka. Arka is sun. Jala Arka is what?
Reflection of the sun.
Reflection of the sun in Jalam. Okay, Jala Arka. Sun reflected in the water. So he says, just as the sun reflected in the water is similar to the original sun, in the same way, the Jiva is similar to Ishvara. Right? And of course, all the other insentient objects are also born. We are all born from what? Maya. Right? Because Ishvara has Maya also. So he says, Prano Bijatma Janayati. The entire universe, the entire insentient part, Achetana Prapancha, is born from Maya. In part of the Achetana Prapancha, there is a Jiva, which is pervaded by Ishvara. So there are two separate Prapanchas, Achetana Prapancha and Chetana Prapancha. Right? We should recall here that in Sankhya Yoga, in Sankhya, in Yoga, in Nyaya, in Vaiseshika, as far as our darshanas are concerned, also in other darshanas, other religions also, Ishvara is only nimitta karanam. The upadana karanam is different. Right? In Sankhya Yoga, for example, Ishvara is nimitta karanam. What is upadana karanam?
Prakriti.
Prakriti. In Nyaya Vaiseshika, Ishvara is upadana karanam, is nimitta karanam. What is the upadana karanam? We have seen this. Anu, atoms, right? Atoms are upadana karanam. We have seen some of this. Again, and in this particular Maandukya Upanishad also, you will find one of the chapters will have a lot of study on the other darshanas. But it's worthwhile remembering that these darshanas, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Ishvara is different. Nimitta Karanam, Upadana Karanam is different. But in Vedanta, only in Vedanta, Ishvara is both Nimitta and Upadana Karanam. Yathorna Navihi. The spider is the example. Right? And therefore, we have to understand that what is being said is that Maya aspect of Ishvara is the generator of Achetana Prapancham, the insentient universe. Purushaha, which is the sentient part of Ishvara, Brahman, generates Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna. And this was said in the 7th chapter of the Gita also. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu. Okay, all this constantly you have to remember. Nidhyasanam. Now, what is meant therefore by the Jiva Srishti, creation of a Jiva? We have to understand that the Sthula Shariram and the Sukshma Shariram during Pralayam, they were there in Avyakta Avastha. They were there in potential form. At the time of Srishti, manifestation, the physical bodies and the subtle bodies are manifested. And simultaneously, with the manifestation of the physical body and subtle body, what happens? We are used a particular word which we saw in yesterday's class. Consciousness pervades these bodies and both the bodies. What is that pervasion called?
Anupravesh.
Anupravesha, right? So together with this, anupravesha happens. Consciousness is pervading these two bodies. So the reflected reflection media, the RM, reflecting media is there, the OC is there, and because the two are there, the RC is created. In short, the OC is always there. The RM and the RCs are created. The RM can be taken as the Achetana Prapancha. The RCs can be taken as the combination. Therefore, in short, the Chetana and Achetana Prapancha are created from Antaryami Ishvara. Right? And if you want to understand this, all you have to recall is your own dream creation. The moment you fall into a dream, the waker throws out the sleeper, projects the sleeper, projects the entire sleep universe, Swapna Prapancha. And that Swapna Prapancha consists of both Chetana and Achetana things. Right? And Shankara in his commentary says this itself should be taken as a refutation of Asat Karyavada. What is Asat Karyavada?
Creation from nothing.
Yes, that is Sankhya theory, that the universe has come from nothing. There was nothing earlier. Right? And Shankara quotes, of course, he quotes from the Maandukya Upanishad itself. There is a Karika in the third chapter, Karika number 28, which we will discuss when we come to that. But he quotes here, Vandya putro na tatvena maya vapi jayate. So the Vandhya, the lady who cannot have a child for whatever reasons, na jayate, for that lady a child can never be born. And what sort of child? Na tatvena api mayava. Either really or seemingly also, a child cannot be born to a lady who cannot have a child. Right? So we have to talk about a lady who is physically incapable of bearing a child. For whatever reasons are there. Such a lady cannot have either a mithya child or a real child. So what is the conclusion? If the word asat it could not be born seemingly or really. But we know the world is seemingly born, and therefore asat karyavada cannot be correct. Because even though we are saying the world is never born, but we are seeing that world. So there is a seeming birth of the world. There is a mithya world being born. Therefore something was already there. And as far as discussing asat karyavada is there, supposing the world suppose you accept asat karyavada and say that from asat, from a non-existent state, the world comes. So what are you actually saying? There was no world and then the world originates. Right? If you are saying that, then what are you actually saying? A non-existent universe has transformed into an existent universe. So a asat prapancha has transformed into a sat prapancha. What is the problem with this interpretation? It's a very subtle point. Is this Shastra says, Sankhya says that Asat Karyavada is correct, which means there is a Asat Prapancha, non-existing world from which the Sat Prapancha, existing world has come, which means that I am saying that, or Sankhya is saying that, this Asat Prapancha has converted into the Sat Prapancha. When you say that, there is another problem. What is that? There is no role for Brahman, isn't it? It's a conversion of Asat Prapancha into Sat Prapancha. There is no role for Brahman. Therefore, you accept this theory, then there is no connection at all between Brahman and Prapanchas. And therefore, where is the question of Brahman being revealed by Shastram? Because Shastram reveals Brahman as what? As Jagat Karanam. And for to reveal Brahman as Jagat Karanam, Shastram uses the Mithya Jagat. If you say that Asat Jagat converts into Sat Jagat, there is no connection at all between Brahman and Jagat, and therefore this method of revealing Brahman using the Mithya Jagat will not work in Asat Karyavada. Do you understand?
Um, Acharya ji, but they are saying it's Nimitya Karanam, na? So Brahman is has a role there too.
No. Where is it? We are simply saying you have to consider how our theory works and
Yeah, that.
how their theory works. Their theory is that from Asat Jagat, Sat Jagat comes. There is no involvement of Brahman at all.
Not even as a Nimitta Karan.
Not even as Nimitta. Nimitta Karanam, how? We already, Nimitta Karanam will
Goldsmith type, like so. This is the
be
gold.
there if there is Upadana Karanam. There is no Upadana Karanam here. Asat Jagat is not Upadana Karanam. Asat Jagat means what? Nothing is there. Nothing cannot be
Okay.
Upadana Karanam, no?
Okay.
So each
Okay.
word you have to carefully think about. That is the process. When you say Nimitta Karanam, there has to be Upadana Karanam. But in this theory of Asat Karyavada, what is the Upadana Karanam? There is nothing. They are saying Asat Jagat from a non-existent Jagat. A non-existent entity, how can it be Upadana Karanam? Therefore, this method of revealing Brahman as Jagat Karanam using a Mithya Jagat is not available to us in Asat Karyavada. Then you can say, but Brahman can be revealed directly. But Brahman cannot be revealed directly because
Brahman is antilless, attributeless.
attributeless, therefore Sarva Indriya Agochara is not capable of being grasped by any Indriya at all. And therefore, if you accept that Asat Karyavada, you will have the problem of Brahman himself being Asat. Therefore, Asat Karyavada cannot be accepted. Okay. Now, the subtle point which Shankara makes, this concept of mithya, this mithya concept is not there in any of the other darshanas. Mithya is accepted, the idea of mithyatvam is accepted only by Advaita. Now, take the Rajju Sarpaha, the rope snake, right? What is the Karanam for the rope snake?
The Ajnanam.
Vidya origin.
No, you have to be clear. I cannot hear you.
Avidya.
See, neither the rope nor avidya by themselves can be the Karanam. Ajnanam is not Sarpa Karanam. The Rajju is not Sarpakaranam. It has to be Ajnanam of the rope, which is
Hmm.
Sarpakaranam.
And
Always,
also a knowledge of snake.
not just snakes known earlier, right? But that's not Sarpakaranam. Sarpakaranam is the Ajnanam of the rope as the rope. The rope by itself, you cannot say it is Sarpakaranam because if you know it's a rope, then it will definitely not be Sarpakaranam. Ajnanam itself, you cannot say is Sarpakaranam because Ajnanam of Chinese language is not Sarpakaranam. It has to be Ajnanam of the rope, which is Sarpakaranam. In other words, a rope which is known as a rope is never a cause for a mithya snake. It has to be the rope which is not known as a rope, the unknown rope. In other words, rope ignorance, which is the cause for the mithya snake. Okay, so far so good. Everybody is following the argument.
Yes.
No, Acharya, I am not getting it.
What is
Rope,
your because I need this to be very clear in everybody's mind. So what
yeah.
exactly is the problem?
Rope ignorance is the cause, is what you are saying.
Hmm.
But but
But
isn't it the Agyanam which is causing the rope to appear as a snake?
what is Ajnanam? You can be having Ajnanam of Chinese language also. Will that cause the rope to appear as a snake?
No, no.
You
So
have
it is okay. Got it. So it is the rope ignorance which is causing the.
correct.
Uh, yes, got it.
Now the next question is, since the unknown rope, the rope ignorance is the cause for the mithya snake, remember that the mithya snake is being seen by us. So the question here is very simple. Before the mithya snake was seen, that is to say, before you came into the sight of the rope, the mithya snake was not there. So before it was seen, before the mithya snake was seen, or in other words, to use the language, before the birth of the mithya snake, was that mithya snake existing in the unknown rope? You have to think very carefully about what we saw, what we just discussed about Asat Karyavada.
Yes, in that case.
It was
Potential.
existing, right? The non-existent mithya snake is potentially existing in the unknown rope. Therefore, it has a dependent existence born from the rope, right? The mithya snake, since it is potentially existing in the rope, that is why it is mithya. Its existence is borrowed from the snow, from the rope. That is why we say that existent snake was potentially existing in the unknown rope. The existent mithya snake has a potential existence in the rope which is not known because of the very fact we discussed. Asat karanam cannot give rise to any karyam, asat or sat. You cannot say that because the snake is mithya, it didn't really exist. Then you are saying that asat karanam can give rise to mithya karyam, which is not true. But then you are accepting the asat karyavada. So asat karanam cannot give rise to anything, any karyam, mithya, asat or sat. So in what form does the potential mithya snake exist in the unknown rope? As the very rope itself. It is not separate from the rope. Why? Because the existence of that mithya snake has been borrowed from the rope. And this is how you understand. In the same manner, everything that is created already exists before creation in the form of Ishvara. And this we saw in Mundaka Upanishad. Brahmai Vedam Vidam Sarvam. Everything is Brahman alone. Brahman alone was existing before the universe was born. And this we saw in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which we have done, 141, I think. Atma Vedam Agre Asit. Atma alone was existing before creation. So with this, we'll stop for today. Very, very heavy dose it was. Let me know if any.
Acharya, can I say something?
Please ask, yeah.
Like Munmunji said, a person who doesn't know the snake, he will not, he has no knowledge of snake, then the rope cannot be interpreted as a snake.
Correct. There is a necessity that the snake would have been seen, either in this life or in previous life, or even another mithya snake has been seen. This discussion we had earlier, that you need not have a real snake to give you darshan of a mithya snake. You can have seen a mithya snake on paper, in the movies.
Okay.
Okay. So all very, very intense discussions. I would again and again urge you people, please go make notes. It's not just a Sunday, enterprise. We have to use our time to make notes and revise. Then only it will make sense. Because Maandukya Upanishad especially is a very difficult Upanishad, even though it's only 12 verses, 12 mantras. But there are several karikas. All the karikas are meant to explain these mantras. So thank you for your patience. With this, we'll stop today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya Om Om.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Acharya.